Well, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. I know that I sure am myself. Please, you guys, I want you to make sure you stick around till the end of this video. We have a super special announcement. A very important guest is going to be joining Methods and I on Sunday, this Sunday, the 16th of February for Comfy Sunday. You're not going to want to miss this, so make sure you stick around till the end of the video. Now, we've also got lots of news to go over. We had a bit of information about that particular DNC staffer yesterday. Well, we've got some more information, and it has to do with the exact same judge and the family of that staffer. Also, it looks like Joe Biden has just decided to pull on out of New Hampshire because he realized it's not worth the money he's going to have to spend. There is no one in New Hampshire who even wants to vote for Joe Biden, so he's gone. Also, it looks like the DOJ is backing down on their excessive sentencing recommendations for Roger Stone. They were trying to give him something like 7 to 10 years in prison. You've got to be kidding me. Also, it looks like they have pinpointed the exact officials who are responsible for the criminal FISA warrants in the plot to spy on the president and the people around him. And guess what? It's the same people who are involved in fixing the FISA process. You can't make this up. Also, it looks like Martha Bashford, she is the chief prosecutor who decided not to go after H.W. Harvey from Miramax Films. She is resigning because she knows that I'm sure many people are going to be asking questions about why she decided not to prosecute. And finally, a Canadian lawsuit with dozens of people who were affected by the self-help group NXIVM are suing the leaders of that organization, including the Bronfman sisters and even more. So sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. Imagine if you had received a personal invitation to invest in Uber when it was just a startup. Well, on IPO day, that $50 investment could have made you $248,250. And that same $50 invested in Amazon before it IPO'd could have made you over $7 million. Mike Markula was Apple's first angel investor, and on IPO day, his windfall was already 220,552%. But that was only when Apple was worth $1.8 billion. Just think how much Markula's investment grew as Apple blazed a trail to becoming the first $1 trillion company in US history. And without him, things like iPhones, iPads, Apple Watches, and many other devices that we use on a daily basis might never have been invented. Look at these surprising returns from these popular startup companies, some earning as much as 583,264% in revenue surge. What would you rather be? The angel investor or the IPO investor? Well, the choice is clear as day. Fortunately, Shark Tank's Robert Herjavec and his team of ultra-successful angel investors are here to help deliver angel deals with life-changing upsides delivered to you on a silver platter. Watch the free video at www.getangelrich.com or click the link in the description below to see how you can participate in potentially lucrative deals before the mainstream even finds out about them. Once again, that's www.getangelrich.com, and when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all, today we have a couple of tweets from Catherine Herridge of CBS. She says she's got a scoop. A source familiar with the process tells CBS News staff assigned by AG Barr outside Maine Justice to review the Ukraine matter. CBS News told this review is separate from John Durham probe into the origins of FBI 2016 Russia case and being handled by a U.S. attorney in Pittsburgh. That is very interesting. That must mean that AG Barr thinks this whole Ukraine matter is very, very important. Obviously, John Durham has his hands full with all of the investigations he's working on, and now this Ukraine matter being handled by a U.S. attorney from Pittsburgh is going to be specifically highlighted, and they're going to pay very, very close attention to the information provided by Rudy Giuliani. Now we have a second tweet from Catherine. Let's take a look at that. She says, source familiar with the process also tells CBS News the review goes beyond the Biden-Ukraine matter, and records are already under review. On the timeline, CBS News is told the review has been quietly underway for several weeks, and the DOJ declined to comment. Hashtag Ukraine. And would you look at that? Our good friend Praying Medic includes the post from our good friend, our favorite Anon, Justice. That's right, guys. Justice is coming. Very interesting to note that the information provided by Rudy Giuliani is not the sole basis of this investigation into the Ukraine matter. It goes far beyond just Biden and his family. As we know, this was probably the most corrupt political administration in the history of the world. Rudy Giuliani is the top man to gather this intel, but it looks like they have found now their top man to continue the investigation. Let's take a look at an article specifically related to this investigation. All right, and this is from CBS Pittsburgh. A report is out that a U.S. attorney in Pittsburgh is vetting Rudy Giuliani's documents on the Biden family and more. U.S. attorney in Pittsburgh reportedly will be vetting information from Rudy Giuliani about the Biden family, and according to the Washington Post, Scott Brady, United States attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania, will reportedly vet the information that Rudy has gathered from Ukrainian sources about former Vice President Joe and his family. Giuliani has, of course, claimed to have a smoking gun, have damaging information about the Bidens, but it's unclear why Brady and his team have been chosen for the role. Well, as I said earlier, it's clear that Attorney General Barr must trust this U.S. attorney. This is not something that we're going to take lightly. This is not something that the Attorney General of the United States is going to take lightly. Clearly, Rudy is bringing incredible information, and it goes far beyond just the Biden family. So now we have this U.S. attorney in Pittsburgh who is outside of Washington, another very important thing to note, and they are going to wrap up this investigation and bring us the justice that we need. Well, who is Scott Brady? Well, we know that he was appointed by President Trump on September 18th, 2017, and he was confirmed by the Senate on December 14th, 2017. He oversees prosecution of all federal crimes and the litigation of civil matters in which the federal government has an interest throughout the 25 counties in western Pennsylvania. Now, what's very interesting is that he has a history of anti-T crimes, violent crimes, and white-collar crimes. So he looks like he is the perfect person to head up this corruption investigation and check out the money laundering and everything else that was happening in Ukraine. And it says he led the prosecutions of hundreds of cases as he was involved in some of the office's highest-profile white-collar and narcotics cases, both things which are definitely going to come into play when we're looking at what happened in the Ukraine. So very interesting. I'm extremely excited to see what Scott Brady finds. Clearly, the president trusts him. He appointed him. Clearly, Attorney General Barr trusts him. And he is not a D.C. insider, so he is more than likely not going to be touched by all of the messiness of the swamp. Due to that fact that he's an outsider, he is the perfect person to look over this information and bring these people to justice. Now, just a recap of yesterday's post 3853. Remember, it included this post, which was another embed back from April 2nd of 2018. And specifically mentioned in that post were Lexington and Concord. Lexington and Concord were important battles in the American Revolutionary War. Concord specifically was the battle that really showed the British that we were not just some upstarts, that we were going to be a real handful if they wanted to go ahead and take on this fight. So that came out yesterday at 1:31 p.m. Now, of course, last night, President Trump held a rally in New Hampshire, and I've got a little snippet of video that I want to show you guys so you can see what the president said.
You know how famous Concord is? Concord. That's the same Concord that we read about all the time, right? Concord. I love Concord. You know how
Now, President Trump just happens to mention Concord. He says the Concord we read about all the time. Obviously, we just read about Concord yesterday in the posts. Now, I think that it's no mistake here that the president also does one of his famous air cues. You can clearly see it. Swipe, swipe, and then off with the curl right there. Clearly, the president telling us that we are on track. We are reading these posts correctly. It is not some coincidence that the president mentions the Battle of Concord right after, on the same day that our favorite Anon announces it, and at the same time he says it, he draws the air cue with his hand. Now, to follow up on our reporting yesterday in the matter of Seth R., the former DNC staffer, do want to let everyone know also Matt Couch is going to be joining us on Friday night at 10 p.m., and then we're going to have a call-in show afterwards. The portion with Matt is going to be pre-recorded, just a short interview, and then it's going to be just you and I hanging out for the rest of the night. Now, the family of that staffer who was taken from us back in 2016 and other defendants are actually requesting testimony from Julian A., the founder of that journalistic organization that released the emails to begin with. But the judge, Richard Leon, is refusing, and keep in mind he is linked to JP, Hillary Clinton's former campaign advisor. Now, here is a picture of them together. And over the weekend, Judge Richard Leon in Washington, D.C. ordered investigative reporter Matt Couch to release all of his confidential materials to the lawyers for Aaron R. And here is that tweet from Matt talking about it. Now, Aaron, of course, is the brother of that deceased DNC staffer, and he's suing Matt for his reporting on the matter after his brother was taken from us in 2016. And Seth worked for the DNC at that time. Now, Judge Richard Leon is a longtime colleague and Georgetown Law School lecturer with none other than JP. He's also linked to Fusion GPS. How about that? Well, Matt is probably going to file a motion to recuse Leon. This is the first this has been announced publicly. But get this, in a bizarre twist, Aaron and the defendants jointly asked Judge Leon to help arrange the deposition of one Julian A. in England. That is very strange. Julian is the main source who can testify about how WL obtained those Podesta emails during the 2016 election. In a weird twist, according to our sources, Judge Leon arbitrarily refused the request, even though both parties requested that deposition. It's pretty much unheard of, and this is a unique situation where all the parties agree they need the testimony of a particular witness, but then the judge blocks it without explanation. Now, I just want to say, after speaking with Matt, this is something the judge does on a fairly regular basis, making judgments without any type of justification. Just like the motion that was filed to require Matt to release all of the information on his sources. He was required to do that without any justification as to why that was the case. Now, one good thing about this that I learned from my conversation with Matt is that none of the sources were actually compromised. It was only the content of the sources that was handed over. So we'll see how the judge reacts to Matt doing it that way. Don't know exactly how that's going to happen, but as far as I'm concerned, I do want Matt Couch to stay out of jail. If he was not going to hand over that information, he would have been placed in jail indefinitely. Now up next, Uncle Joe sees the writing on the wall and abruptly pulls out of New Hampshire as his support sags, and he flees to South Carolina where he thinks he might have a better opportunity to get some votes. He took his ball and he went home. Former VP on Tuesday suddenly announced he was bailing from New Hampshire, where polls show him running in 4th or even 5th place. Joe said he will leave right away and not spend the primary night in the state. Instead, he's heading down to South Carolina to headline a newly scheduled kickoff rally in the state he's long considered his campaign firewall. You can expect a living room in a suburban home will be packed with no fewer than 10 people. We're headed to South Carolina tonight, Biden told reporters, and I'm going to Nevada. We've got to look at them all. After his dismal finish in Iowa, where he finished 4th, things in New Hampshire look just as bad, if not worse. The day before the Granite State's primary, Joe was running 4th in most polls and 5th in a couple. He knows he's not in good shape, saying at the last Democratic debate in Manchester, New Hampshire, I took a hit in Iowa, and I'll probably take a hit here. At least he is understanding how bad the situation is. Now, that may well be a dramatic understatement. Most of the latest polls were taken a day ago when a quarter of the state's voters claimed to be undecided. Many have since made up their minds, and they aren't breaking Biden's way. That's the real reason he's bailing. Now, it takes a lot of money to run a campaign, and this is the kind of thing you saw with 2016 when HRC just decided not to go to certain states because she knew that no matter how much money she spent, no matter how much time she spent there, there was no way she was going to sway the electorate. Well, Joe knows there's no way the Granite State is going to be voting for him. So if he doesn't do it in South Carolina, I don't know that he's going to be able to take this on for very much longer. Clearly, the Democrats are in a bad situation, and they are unable to hold up Joe's flagging campaign. But when it comes down to it, who do you guys think is actually going to end up as the Democratic contender? It seems that Bernie Sanders is the only one who has any momentum, any type of excitement behind him. But even Bernie Sanders, he's nowhere near a Donald Trump. Now, it looks like President Trump has spoken up about Roger Stone, and I'm glad that he did, because there were a lot of people that didn't quite know how to place Roger Stone. Roger Stone and President Trump seemed to have a falling out at some time in the past, and Roger left the campaign. However, he still seemed to act as kind of a surrogate from outside of it. Well, he apparently lied, and they tried to give him a big prison sentence, much like they did to Paul Manafort. It was called extreme and excessive, but now the DOJ is backing down from their abusive sentencing recommendation. And it seems federal prosecutors on Monday recommended Trump confidant Roger Stone serve 7 to 9 years in prison for process crimes during the Mueller witch hunt. Roger Stone is a nonviolent, 67-year-old man who may have some strange personal predilections, but that's neither here nor there, who was caught up in Mueller's abusive witch hunt. Roger Stone's personal life should have nothing to do with what they're saying in this instance. Roger Stone knows a lot of people. Roger Stone is an odd character, but that doesn't mean he deserves 7 to 9 years in prison. The DOJ is now preparing to change its sentencing guideline for Roger Stone. They found it excessive and grossly disproportionate, a source from the DOJ told Fox News. Now, in quote tweeting something from Chuck Ross says prosecutors recommend up to 9 years in prison for Roger Stone. They call foreign election interference a deadly adversary, even though Stone was never accused of working with the Russians or WL. And Donald Trump retweets that and says, "This is a horrible and very unfair situation. The real crimes were on the other side, as nothing happens to them. Cannot allow this miscarriage of justice." Now, in the article, they continue on to say that President Trump needs to pardon Roger Stone. I am very surprised that they've allowed it to get this far. And the things that have happened to Roger, General Flynn, Paul Manafort, I think Donald Trump needs to pardon all of them. None of them should ever have been in this situation. It looks like the DOJ is really backing down for good off General Flynn. They have indefinitely suspended his sentencing hearing. And if they are willing to back off of Roger Stone too, perhaps Paul Manafort is going to be the only one of this trio that ends up seeing the inside of a prison cell, but he definitely needs a pardon as well. We know General Flynn did nothing wrong. We know they trapped Roger Stone into a lie of sorts with this process crime, and we know that Paul Manafort was set up as well by the Ukrainians, but I do have faith that all of that is going to play out. I have an inside source who said the president is aware of all of these things, and they know just how dirty that last administration was, and they do not plan on allowing this miscarriage of justice to go on forever. These people will pay. Now, considering the posts we've had very recently by our favorite Anon talking about how they got what they needed, these people walked into a trap, I tend to think that all three of these cases were part of another trap that was set by our favorite Anon, by the team, by the president, and the White Hats. There's no way that these people should ever have been prosecuted, and the reason that they were allowed to be is because this is just another part of the evidence gathering. There were FISAs in place, I do believe, on all of these people involved in these cases, so we have all of the evidence, them talking about entrapping these people, talking about ruining their lives, and using it as a proxy to get to President Trump. So based on that, I really do have complete faith that we will see justice. Now, speaking of traps, and remembering that FISA goes both ways, as I just mentioned in the last story, the officials from the former administration before President Trump are the ones who approved the criminal FISA warrants to spy on President Trump, and now they are the same ones who are involved in fixing the FISA process. Do they really think we're this stupid? Well, it's outrageous if they think we are, and it's outrageous if this is taken at face value. The same officials who signed the criminal FISA warrants to spy on President Trump are the same ones today with the responsibility of revamping the broken FISA system. Investigative reporter Paul Sperry reported last week on these criminals in the deep state who should be sitting in jail rather than at a desk at the DOJ. Now, according to Sperry, Gabriel Sands-Rexac is an Obama official who was the FISA gatekeeper at the DOJ in 2016 when the illegal warrants to spy on the president and his campaign were authorized. Sands-Rexac also happens to be the same official who just certified to the FISA court that the DOJ and FBI would reform their ways. Would you look at that? Well, Dana Boente was the high-ranking DOJ official held over from the last administration who signed off on the now invalid third FISA warrant to spy on Trump aide Carter Page. And Boente is the FBI's GC who just certified to the FISA court that the FBI would reform its FISA abusing. Well, it looks like the fix is in. But check this out. Crooked Sally Yates was plotting with Gabriel Sands-Rexac on FISA warrants 2 days after General Flynn was sworn in. Now, look at it this way. If we know this, if Paul Sperry and the Gateway Pundit are able to report this, what do you guys think the White Hats and the NSA have? Don't you think they would know this as well? I personally find it highly unlikely that with everything that's going on, all of the swamp draining that we're seeing right now, that this was done without knowing what exactly had taken place previously. If these people who clearly were the ones who signed these fake and fraudulent FISA warrants are the same ones that are now placed in charge of fixing the FISA process, what do you guys think they are going to do? Are they going to continue with their resistance plot to remove the president, or do you think that they are going to legitimately attempt to revamp this FISA process? Well, I think that's a fairly obvious question. Now, knowing that, and knowing what the White Hats are capable of, what the NSA is capable of, what the FISA process is capable of gathering on each of these individuals and people in their sphere, their umbrella, if you will, I think that it is very probable that they are being watched, and it's going to be taken note exactly how they go about trying to fix this FISA process. If they come back with something that is some watered-down version that doesn't actually change anything but allows for these fake FISAs to continue, I do believe that we're probably going to see some action on this from not only the DOJ, but also from some other very high-up organizations. President Trump knows exactly who these people are. It's clear in this regard. It's also clear that the people who are helping him drain the swamp must be made aware of who these people are as well. So I have all the faith in the world that these people are not going to lead us down a path that brings us more pain and heartache and fake FISAs and just a travesty of the Constitution and our American justice system. I do believe that they are watching, they're waiting, and they're cleaning house. Now, Martha Bashford was the chief of the SEX Crimes Unit at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, who decided initially not to prosecute Harvey W. from Miramax Pictures. Well, amid the trial that's ongoing right now of the crimes that he clearly committed, she has decided to resign. She put in her retirement papers after 4 decades with the office, and that was confirmed by D.A. Cyrus Vance Jr. 40 years is a long time to stay in one place, and it's time for me to give notice that I will be moving on, she wrote in a letter to Vance dated February 7th and obtained by the New York Post. Please tell whomever you choose to be the next chief that they are getting by far the best position this office has to offer, in my humble opinion. Well, the SEX Crimes Unit did not oversee the prosecution of after Vance replaced veteran crimes prosecutor Maxine Rosenthal in 2018 with Assistant DA Joan Iluzzi Orban, who is not part of the unit. Rosenthal came under fire after she allegedly referred to one of his accusers, who was later excised from the case over credibility issues, as one of Harvey's girls, sources said. Shows exactly what she thinks about the claims made against Harvey. On Bashford's recommendation, Vance made the controversial call not to prosecute Harvey in 2015 for allegedly groping an Italian model named Ambra Battaglia Gutierrez, even though the disgraced film mogul was captured on an NYPD audio recording apologizing for his conduct. Governor Andrew Cuomo later ordered an investigation into Vance's handling of the case. Clearly, nothing came of that investigation, but perhaps Martha's resignation is part of that ongoing investigation, because it obviously came out that she switched up prosecutors at the last minute so that it was somebody who had no experience in this particular type of criminal activity. But it is not a good look. Someone who's heading up the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for this particular type of crime deciding not to prosecute probably what has become the largest criminal sexual misconduct case in the nation's history, maybe only second to the disgraced and deceased New York financier Jeffrey E. I guess we're going to have to find out, but hopefully there's still some room for charges for Harvey after they take care of him out in LA, because I would imagine there are no shortage of women who have stories about this disgusting man. And finally, on the subject of disgusting men and even women, dozens of Canadians have been included in a lawsuit over the alleged abuse they received by the group NXIVM and their cult leadership. Now, a Vancouver woman pictured right here, Sarah Edmondson, who went public over the allegations of her treatment inside the self-empowerment group NXIVM, is among more than 36 Canadians who are part of a lawsuit against the organization's inner circle. Now, they are suing also along with the leaders of that group, the two heiresses of the Seagram's liquor fortune. That would be Sarah and Claire Bronfman. Now, the suit is for emotional and financial harm that the actress claims she has suffered as a result of being intimidated and harassed, as well as being branded with the initials of the group leader, Keith R. Now, Edmondson and her husband are among a handful of named plaintiffs in a lawsuit, together with 80 anonymous claimants, including 28 Canadian women and 13 Canadian men. Now, the lawsuit was filed at the end of January in the Eastern District of New York, and it claims that Keith and others created and led a Ponzi scheme and coercive community designed to financially and emotionally abuse their followers. Now, this obviously comes in the wake of the conviction of Keith in the trafficking case in New York last summer. He's 58 years old, and he was known as Vanguard to his followers. Now, he's still awaiting sentencing, but I do think that Keith is probably never going to see the light of day again. Don't forget, there was also TV actress Allison Mack, who was his kind of counterpart in the movement, and she was best known for her role in the series Smallville. She's also named in this suit, and she pled guilty to racketeering in relation to the group last year and is also awaiting sentencing. Claire Bronfman admitted to harboring someone living illegally in the U.S. and committing credit card charges on behalf of Keith as part of a plea deal. She also has yet to be sentenced. Sarah Bronfman has never faced any criminal charges because she is on the run. If I'm not mistaken, she is married to a Libyan national and she is overseas. Now, at its height, this group had thousands of members in New York, Vancouver, and Los Angeles, many of which were very high up people in the Democratic Party, and at the very least, they were funding Democratic Party candidates. Now, Edmondson was the first to go public about her recruitment and the initiation ceremony in this secretive inner circle of female members who were described by prosecutors as to Rainier. Don't forget, they had collateral on their members. They kept nude photos so that they could blackmail them in the event that they wanted to leave. There is an example of the brand itself. Now, don't forget, there's another Canadian actress. She's known as Jane Doe 8. She was recruited into DOS, which is the kind of elite group that Keith kept as his personal harem. But she was recruited by Battlestar Galactica actress Nikki Klein, who's also from British Columbia. According to the lawsuit, Klein, who was married to Allison Mack, now lives in Brooklyn. Jane Doe 8 said she was told to provide photographs in the buff and ordered to provide additional collateral in the form of letters describing a false sexual attack by an actor. Wow, it goes on and on, guys, but it's good to see this group still back out in the news. I think all of us are waiting on bated breath to see exactly what they get in terms of sentencing. I sure hope that the DOJ does not go light on these people, and I hope that they can convince them to give testimony on other additionally powerful people. Well, guys, great news about that prosecutor in Pittsburgh. Great news about all of these stories. The dominoes are falling, and these people have not been in power for quite some time. However, they think they have been, and the president and the White Hats have allowed for them to play themselves. They have walked squarely into a trap, and there's no turning around. Now, for that special announcement, I want to make sure everyone is aware that on Sunday, February 16th, myself and Methods on Comfy Sunday will be hosting none other than Roseanne Barr. That's right, you guys, the incomparable comedian and writer and creator of the hit sitcom Roseanne, which I was a big fan of in my childhood, is going to be joining Methods and I for 2 full hours on Sunday the 16th. In the first hour, we're going to be doing an interview with Roseanne, and then in the second hour, it's going to be a call-in so you guys can call and ask her your questions, and you get to talk to Roseanne and hang out with all of us. I'm really excited about it, you guys. I think it's going to be one of my best shows ever, and I'm super stoked that Methods is going to be there to share it with me. All right, don't forget also about these 200,000 subscriber contests that's coming up. When we hit 200,000 subscribers, I will be giving away 2 $100 gift cards to the store of your choice. All you have to do is like these videos, comment on them, join the conversation, and share them so that other people will watch them as well. The video that has the most number of likes will get a winner, and the video with the most number of views will also get a winner. So please do help me by helping yourself. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, it's Red Pill. Just one more thing. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has taken the time to support this channel. If you'd like to see some ways that you can support the channel, you can always check the show notes in the pinned comment of this video below. Whether you like, whether you share, whether you make sure that your notifications are on, any way that you support this channel means so much to me. I could not be doing this without you, and I could not do it without your help. Without people like you, this channel would not exist, so thank you so much to everyone for all of their many means of support. Don't forget to check out the merchandise store that is also in the pinned comment, and I will see you guys next time.